Have you ever just looked at the world and wondered, why? Why is it so unequal? I mean, why did some societies get so rich and powerful while others got left behind? Well, today we're going to dive into one of the biggest, most controversial questions in all of human history. And we're going to find that the answer isn't about people, it's about the planet itself.
And it all started with this question. Just let that sink in for a second. Back in 1972, a politician in New Guinea named Yali asked this to the scientist Jared Diamond. He wasn't asking about complex economics or politics. He was just asking about cargo, all the stuff, the technology, the wealth he saw. It's such a simple, direct question, and it's incredibly profound. This question is the very heart of what we're talking about today.
You know, Yali's question basically sent Diamond on this massive, decades-long quest to find an answer. And that journey led to this book, Guns, Germs, and Steel. It's his attempt to explain the fates of all human societies. So let's break down his core argument right now.
Okay, so before we can get to the right answer, we've got to deal with the wrong ones first. And for centuries, there's been this really common and really dangerous explanation for why the world is the way it is. It's an idea that's as ugly as it is false.
For a long, long time, the dominant idea, whether people said it out loud or just thought it, was that some groups of people were just better than others. You know, that Europeans conquered the world because they were somehow genetically smarter. But is there any truth to that at all? The answer from all the research is a huge, resounding, scientifically backed no. Absolutely not. The whole idea of racial superiority isn't just morally wrong, it's factually and scientifically bankrupt. So, let's just take that idea and throw it right in the trash where it belongs. In fact, Diamond totally flips this old, racist argument on its head. He'd spent years working in New Guinea, and he argued that natural selection for intelligence might actually be stronger there. Think about it. In those societies, you have to be incredibly clever every single day just to find food and not get killed. Meanwhile, in the dense, crowded societies of Europe, a big factor for survival wasn't necessarily raw intelligence, but whether your immune system could survive the next plague. It's a really powerful way to dismantle a very ugly, long-held myth.
So, if it's not about intelligence, then what is it? What's the real reason? Well, to find it, we need to understand the difference between the immediate, obvious causes and the deep, hidden factors that really shaped history.
All right, so first up, we've got what are called proximate causes. Now that sounds a little academic, but just think of them as the direct, right-in-your-face reasons why one group could dominate another. They're all about the how. How did the conquest actually happen?
And these, right here, are the literal guns, germs, and steel from the title. Picture the Spanish conquistador Pizarro facing the Inca Emperor Atahualpa. Pizarro had steel swords, he had early guns, and he had the backing of a powerful, organized government. But his most devastating weapon was totally invisible: germs. Diseases like smallpox had already swept through the Americas, weakening the Inca Empire long before he even showed up.
But wait, that only tells us how it all went down. It doesn't answer Yali's real question, does it? Why did Europeans have the guns and the germs and the steel, and the people of New Guinea didn't? To get to that, we have to dig deeper, to what are called ultimate causes, the real root of it all.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have the how, the tools themselves. But on the other, you have the why, the deep environmental reasons those tools were developed there and not somewhere else. We're shifting from looking at a single moment in history to a massive, long-term head start.
Diamond uses this brilliant metaphor. He says world history is like an onion. The conquests we see today, that's just the outer skin. To really understand it, you have to peel back the layers, one by one, until you finally get to the core.
So, let's do it. Let's peel that onion all the way to its core. Because when we do, what we find is that the ultimate cause of global inequality has nothing to do with people and everything to do with the land they lived on. And here it is. This is the single most important idea in the whole book. If you take away just one thing, let it be this. The great patterns of history weren't shaped by innate differences in people, but by the raw materials of the land itself. It all came down to a geographical lottery. What's so crucial to understand is that for most of human history, I'm talking millions of years, everyone was basically on an even playing field. We all started in Africa, and for a vast stretch of time, progress was incredibly slow, everywhere. The massive gaps we see today, that's a very, very recent chapter in the human story.
So picture this. It's around 13,000 years ago. The last ice age has just ended.
At that moment, every single person on every single continent was a hunter-gatherer. This was the shared starting line for all humanity. What happened next, this huge divergence in our histories, was all determined by the unique geographic cards each group was dealt.
All right, so let's put it all together. How exactly did geography give some societies this massive, centuries-long head start over everyone else?
Well, it all kicks off with food production. Just by pure luck, the continent of Eurasia happened to have the world's best collection of wild plants and animals that were easy to domesticate. Think wheat, barley, cows, pigs, sheep, horses. This geographical gift meant farming started there first. Farming creates food surpluses, which means, for the first time ever, not everyone has to be a farmer. You get specialists, soldiers, priests, inventors, bureaucrats. This leads to dense populations and organized states. And living crammed together with all those farm animals meant Eurasians were constantly exposed to their germs, and over centuries, they built up immunities. But here's the kicker. Eurasia is wide. It stretches east to west. This means crops, animals, and ideas could spread like wildfire across thousands of miles of similar climates. Compare that to the Americas and Africa, which are tall. They stretch north to south. Trying to spread things there meant hitting massive climate barriers, like deserts and jungles. The spread was just so much slower.
So, the answer to Yali's question is that his people didn't have as much cargo because they didn't start with the same set of environmental raw materials. It had nothing to do with the people themselves. It was purely an accident of geography. And this leaves us with one last, really big thought. If our entire past was so profoundly shaped by the environment, by geography, what does that mean for our future, now that we're living on a planet that is changing faster than ever before in human history? It makes you wonder, maybe the geographic advantages of the past won't be the advantages of the future. Something to think about.